This woman got killed by a random stranger over a minor dispute. The woman's innocent child was seeing his mother getting murdered, but he couldn't do anything to protect her. The man Sun Tzu was arrested and ultimately went through the trial. It turned out that he had a history of being punished for crimes of similar manner in the past, however. Considering the fact that there was no intention to kill, and the fact that Sun Tzu tried his best to settle with the victim's family, and he is being treated for mental illness, the judge sentenced him 3 and a 2 years in prison. Hearing the unfair ruling, the kid Ji Jong cannot help but shed tears with anger burning in his heart. Before Sun Tzu was taken out of the court, he verbally harassed Ji Young, scaring him. Fast forward to 12 years. Sun Tzu is still hurting people for no reason. He attacks a bus driver, only because the driver called the cops on him for creating trouble often. Sun Tzu doesn't stop after a punch or two, and keeps hurting the bus driver until he is badly injured. As he continues to threaten the other passengers, he notices a person standing outside the bus. Brushing it away, he makes his way home, only to be stopped by that mysterious man. The man launches a punch at Sun Tzu, and when Sun Tzu tries to retaliate, he subdues his attack wearing a brass knuckle. The mysterious man begins punching Sun Tzu in the face until he dies. This man is none other than Ji Jong, who lost his mother because of Sun Tzu 12 years ago. He is becoming a police officer and spends most of his time in the police academy. With impressive judo skills, he catches the eye of his instructor, Jun Yob, who believes Ji Young is ready for field work. By day, Ji Young is a focused police officer, but by night he transforms into a vigilante, seeking out criminals who slip through legal cracks. One night he witnesses 2 men menacingly urinating on someone's window, intimidating the resident. Shi Yung steps in swiftly, incapacitating the offenders and making a quick exit, leaving the shocked woman behind. That night he reads another news about a doctor who is still seeing patients despite sexually assaulting the victims and filming them. He was given a 6-month sentence, and he wasn't even stripped of his license. Realizing the flaws of the law on this case, Ji Young takes the matter into his own hands. As the doctor is about to assault another of his patients, Ji Young storms into the operation theater and punches him really hard. As the doctor falls on the floor, Ji Jong warns him to quit being a doctor and find another job. If he doesn't follow Ji Jong's instructions, he will be responsible for the consequences. On the other hand, we see a journalist, Mi Ryo, having a meeting with her boss. Chang Yun-shi shows him the collection of violent crimes in which the victims are perpetrators who have all been released because of the absurd court ruling. Those cases were all covered in the news, and she believes it has evoked outrage. She continues delivering her point, saying that because of loopholes in the law, perpetrators are being released without being punished properly, and someone is making them pay for what they did. She believes that people want a dark hero like this person, and they must broadcast the show to get more ratings. The boss likes the idea, and soon the news is broadcast, telling people about a vigilante who helps the oppressed and punishes the perpetrators. The woman Ji Young had helped earlier gives an interview in which she thanks Ji Young for helping her and making her life easier. Sha Young, who is listening to the news in the police academy, feels a sense of satisfaction upon hearing the woman's gratitude towards the vigilante. Hiding his bruised hand, he opens up his phone and finds that people have already started writing articles in favor of vigilante. On the other hand, Nam Yongdul and his team rushed to Mi Ryo's studio. To their surprise, Mi Ryo was sitting there as if nothing happened. Station. They inquire about her miraculous escape from the perilous situation. Opting not to disclose Gank's identity, Mi Ryo suggests that someone must have come to her. The live broadcast, the news company is happy. Mi Ryo heads back from the police station and decides to relax with a refreshing bath. In the midst of this, the lights unexpectedly suggesting an unwelcome presence in her apartment. Meanwhile, at the police academy, Nam Yongdul arrives for a conversation with Ji Young. He's under suspicion for leaving the academy on the night of Ryo's attack. Adding weight to this suspicion is the discovery that the phone, as their show about vigilantes a hit used to sell cryptocurrency, was activated at the school. Later, Ji Young sets off to meet Ganga. Simultaneously, Officer Nam Yongdul conducts research at the police academy, and Ji Young discovers about it from a friend. Soon, Officer Inchan informs Nam Yongdul that the forensic report on the phone's location has understood the pattern. Following the lead, they find the location, pointing to President Jaheb's office. It turns out Ji Young was the one who activated the phone in Jaheb's leaving it there to divert suspicion onto the president. In the search, Ji-young also discovered a burner phone Jaheb used to contact Samdu. Nam Yonggul arrives locating both phones. Jaheb confronts them, angered by the search in his office, and realizes that, after advising Jaheb to confess before the forensic reports are out, Nam Yonggul leaves the office. It prompts Jaheb to take drastic measures to avoid getting exposed. On his way to the forensic office, Nam Yonggul's car collides with a truck, leading to his tragic demise. Meanwhile, Jo Hyun, on the path to recovery, the incidents only take place on the about his colleague's death. Meanwhile, Shi-young receives the news and that night Jo Hyun approaches him. Shi-young confides in him, disclosing that he only the officer to the evidence against Jae-young, fueled by anger over the death of an honest police officer. Shi-young expresses his determination to take matters. He declares his intent to bring justice. So she waits for another incident to occur by personally dealing with all those responsible for the tragic incident, as he believes the system has failed on the other side. It comes to light that Mr. Bang has kidnapped Jaheb's orders. He's subjecting her to extract information about the vigilante. Despite the pain, Mirayo remains strong, refusing to reveal the broadcast. And meanwhile, Gangdek visits Mirayo's place and discovers her abduction. He promptly informs Ji-jong, and they collaborate on strategizing their next moves. The vigilantes head to Samdu's office, taking on his men with force. Observing a goon in conversation with Samdu, Shi-jong intervenes, forcing him to read a message in exchange for Mirayo's release. However, a week has passed. He's willing to return the private keys of the QQ coins he stole. Upon learning this, Samdu contacts Mr. Bang, offering him a payment 5 times greater for Mirayo. Mr. Bang changes his mind upon discovering that Ji-young is coming to rescue fueled by a desire for revenge. After their earlier confrontation, he agrees to the deal. Samdu and Vigilante hasn't done anything yet. On the other hand, instructs his right-hand man to assemble all his men so they can kill everyone involved. Ami Ryo. Mr. Bang later that night, Ji-jong's friend Sin-woo approaches expressing concern about Ji-jong's recent absence, suspecting something is amiss. Soon-wook refrains from pressing Jang concerning the boss. Before leaving, Seon-wook advises Jang to prioritize attending school. Fueled by the determination to avenge Youngul's death, prepares captured for the impending battle the next morning. Samdu heads to the stadium as instructed by Mr. Bang releases to bring her to the same location for the exchange. Mirayo advises exposing the preparator. Samdu's men arrive and forcefully clear the area. Their focus fixed on the CCTV cameras to spot the vigilante. They eventually notice a man in a black hoodie entering the stadium. More individuals dressed in black follow suit. It turns out that using his influence as a businessman, has organized a themed concert of the Soon case with everyone dressed in black. Reads the news. Surprisingly, Seon-wook is among the audience. Mr. Bang arrives and decides to stay true to the promise he made. Sam does. Men enter the stadium while Mr. Bang's right-hand man to carry out the exchange involving Mirayo and the private key. Spotting Ji-jong, he gives chase and takes the bait as decided, but fails to find him in the sea of people. Seizing the opportunity, Ji-jong takes Mirayo's leads her away from the bustling crowd. As Sodal tails the duo, Gangduk strategically appears before Samdu, diverting the attention of his man, leading them away. Gangduk allows Ji-young to hide behind a car. He instructs Mirayo to start a live stream, initiating the live broadcast in which a brawl ensues between Sodal and Ji-jong. Meanwhile, Jo Hyun, catching wind of the live stream during his workout, rushes to the stadium with the captured Samdu's men. Unfolds in the stadium as Samdu commands his men to eliminate including everyone. Mr. Bang, Gangdek, Mirayo, and the vigilante Gunga engages in ground-level combat. While Ji-young atop a bus, the channel reveals the identity of the confronts the assailants. Mirayo captures the entire spectacle on learning her live about stream. The unfolding situation. Jaheb's superior, the chairman who was behind it all, strictly orders Jaheb to put an end to the chaos amid the intense fight. As Ji-young faces the risk of capture, Mirayo emerges from drawing the attention away from him. As Samdo's men are after Mirayo, sex offender Hrum, Shi-young steps in for her protection, seeking refuge in a bus. They are pursued by Samdu's relentless determined to kill them amidst the chaos. Jo-hyun arrives on the scene and commands everyone to surrender. The situation takes a humorous turn as Mr. Bang is confused to see his men donning police vests ignoring Jo-hyun's order. Samdu directs his men to kill Jo-hyun. He committed a terrible crime against the student. He then shifts his focus to Ji-jong, brandishing a knife. As Ji-young finds himself overpowered, and unexpected ally in the ensuing struggle, Sean-wook gets stabbed by Samdu. Manages to knock Samdu down, but before he can take further action, the arrival of police cars causes everyone to disperse. Sha-yoon pursues Samdu, determined to apprehend men pursue them, and was sentenced to only 7 years in prison, providing Ji-young the chance to continue his confrontation unfolds between Samdu, Mr. Bang, and Ji-young. Sho-hyun joins the fray and a chaotic brawl among them. Sho-hyun takes on while Ji-jong confronts Samdu. Suddenly the door to what appears to be a massive water is forcefully closed, and Jaheb reveals he condemns Samdu for his business failures before fatally shooting him. Armed with a gun, Jaheb opens fire on them to seek cover. Jaheb manipulates the water tank valves, causing the area to flood. Reloading his pistol, he continues firing at Jo-hyun and Jeong. As the revolver empties, Jo-hyun assists to Sejong in climbing the news reporter informs the public. In a fierce confrontation, Jeong successfully takes down Jaeb on the metal bridge. With anger, Ji-jong unleashes a barrage of relentless punches on Jaeb. However, Jo-hyun intervenes, reminding Ji-jong that their job is done and the law should take care of Jaeb. In a sudden turn of events, Mr. Bang hurls a knife at Ji-jong that Hwang has just been released from jail, causing him injury subsequently. Jaheb seizes a pistol and fires at Jo-hyun, Mr. Bang, and Ji-jong, inflicting wounds on all of them. Jo-hyun decides to take matters into delivering his own hands, a powerful punch to Jaheb's face and then suffocating him to death. Amid the chaos, Mr. Bang attempts to attack Jo-hyun, but Ji-young intervenes, fatally stabbing Mr. Bang in the chest. And despite his heinous crime, the aftermath of the intense fight transforms the location into a scene swarmed with police and media. Later, Mirio was summoned for questioning. During the interrogation, she discloses that who was killed was the vigilante. She chooses not to divulge the real name behind this vigilantism. The next day, Gangdek regains consciousness in his bed, receiving treatment. Surprisingly, he is happily living among them. It's revealed that his right hand looked after him in Ji-young and took care of deleting all the CCTV Meanwhile, footage. Ji-young grieves the loss of his close friend. In a conversation with Cho-hyun, Mirio reveals how her dad faced an unjust accusation, leading to his death. Shockingly, nobody stepped forward to help, even when aware of the truths. This heartbreaking incident compelled Mirio. Sha-young watches the news to rally behind the vigilante, who became a symbol of hope to stand up for the powerless. Yet, as she witnesses Jang mourning his friend, she isn't sure if he is up to being the vigilante. However, as the drama unfolds, we see the flames of vigilantism burning even brighter. He's more determined than ever to expose the chairman and realizes that he must do something behind it all. On the other hand, the news evokes with public people protesting outside Haring's demanding house, for him a death sentence. And Iria was also waiting outside Haring's house. Her plan is working. In order to get more information about Ji-young accesses the police computer, which has the data on all the cases. He digs deep into the case files, ready to teach the preparator a lesson. At night, when Hwang gets out of his apartment, Mirio begins following him. However, she loses him at the port. Later, we see Hwang dressed as a delivery boy arriving at his victim's building. A police officer is standing outside her apartment to ensure her safety without wasting time. Hwang takes out a knife and attacks the police officer, who retaliates but fails to subdue the assailant. Hwang manages to stab the officer, but instead of backing away, the officer keeps fighting until Hwang throws acid at his face. During the disturbance, the girl gets out of the apartment, only to get caught by Hwang hitting him. She tries to escape, but Hwang catches her again. He intends to kill her, as he believes that it is her fault that people are cussing him. He thinks that if he had killed her back then, this would have been happening, just as he's about to harm her. Ji-jong intervenes, delivering a powerful blow. That sends Hwang tumbling down the stairs. Despite Hwang's attempts to resist, he proves no match for Ji-jong's judo prowess. Ji-jong breaks his arms, lands and punches him against a window, shattering it in the face of defeat. Harang pleads for mercy, prompting Ji Young to instruct him to write an apology on the wall. Meanwhile, Mirio was on her way to the girl's apartment when she runs into Ji Young, who has just finished his job. Soon after, Mirio arrives at the building and pretends to be one of the residents. She manages to head inside while the officer on duty is being rescued. As she arrives at the scene, she can't help but smile, seeing the message written on the wall. With Hrung's blood, the message made catch the wicked in the end and make them pay for their crimes. The news spreads of Hrung's demise. Now the people are sure that there is a vigilante. However, the police see him as a murderer. They believe that the vigilante didn't kill helping the victim, but he intended to kill Hrung from the start. The chief of police instructs the head of the case, Officer Inchan, to stop the media from portraying vigilante as a hero, but rather a murderer. Officer Junyob, who is called to join the investigation, visits the incident site and realizes that the culprit, aka vigilante, knows how the police investigate behind. Officer Inchan shares with him how people have been calling the police, complaining about the investigation, as they believe vigilante did the right thing. Meanwhile, Ryo's news company is also making a criminal look interesting. In the public's eyes, Chen Yun is frustrated. Ryo makes him realize that they are doing nothing. In fact, she has found 3 more cases to attract vigilante. The following day, it is on the news how a man named Du Yi broke into the house of his ex-employer with runaway teens and brutally murdered the children, and their mother tried to blame it all on the young boy, Song-il, who received a lenient punishment due to his age. Shi-young watches the news and decides to dig deeper into the case. At night, he sneaks out of the room, fully equipped with the necessary information. He opens Duyin's social media and finds the location of the club he frequently visits. There is a negative comment on his post, in response to which Douyin threatened to kill the commenter. The Douyin is still living the life of a criminal. Chi-young visits the club with his friends. He finds Douyin talking to the teenager. There he learns from a girl the Douyin is allowing Ji-young to carry out more research on him. He learns the Douyin's drug trafficking businesses. In such a system, then only the dealers can get caught. The dealers carry out cash transactions, making it hard to catch them through online payments. One weekend, as Douyin leaves the club, Ji-young follows him to the place where he often sells the drugs to other dealers. When Douyin returns to his car, he finds a note having a number. It says, "Turn yourself in as instructed." Song-il dials the number. It is a agent's number. Douyin instructs him to lie low for a while, thinking that someone is actually trying to catch them. As he returns to the club, the police raid the place, causing Douyin to escape. In a desperate bid to avoid getting caught, he returns to his house only to see the door open. It turns out the Ji-jong arrived before him and even stole his money. As he pours some petrol on the money, Dao Yip runs towards him, but Ji-young punches him really hard and instructs him to repent on his sins. Showing no remorse for the murders, he sets the money on fire, igniting a fight with Dao Yip. Dao Yip tries to use the shovel to attack Ji-young. Ji-young strangles him with the chain and keeps punching him until he shows for mercy the video of the family he murdered and instructs him to say sorry to the departed souls. The following day, the police arrive at the scene angered and find murders by the vigilante. The police promise the public to put an end to it. As this is an issue of heightened public attention, a special investigation headquarters is formed with the cooperation of all agencies and police personnel. Though the police are trying to vigilante, the public seems to like him. To solve the recent case, the team leader of the regional investigation unit, Jo-hyun, meets Song-il and tries to scare him, using his strength to bend the coin. He then takes the kid outside and asks him if he saw anyone suspicious around the club. When Song-il doesn't cooperate, Jo-hyun punches him in the face and gives him a last warning before hanging him down from the railing. In a desperate bid to save his life, Seung-il then spits out how Yi orders him to call a D before dying. Jo-hyun then pulls him up, after which he receives a call from his senior. Jo-hyun promises him to catch the vigilante at all costs. Because of the recent incidents, have started copying vigilante taking the law into their own hands. Some teenagers set a criminal's car on fire before fatally harming him. A total of 18 incidents happened across the country, and the people responsible think that they have done the right thing to stop the ongoing insanity. Joe. He is determined to catch the real vigilante. Neil confessed to all his crimes, making it evident that people are now more afraid of the vigilante than the prison. Later that night, Zhang finds another case in which a delivery got hit by a truck driver. Instead of calling 911, the driver runs the truck over him to end his life. Though he deliberately killed someone, he was sent to prison only for 1 year. After reading the public opinion on the guy, Shi-young decides to take a photograph of the data. The following day, the delivery man's mother approaches Guho and grabs him by his collar. Infuriated at his short sentence, instead of apologizing, Guho yells at her, saying he is now innocent as he has received his punishment. Shi-young hears their conversation and realizes that Guho has no regrets. Later that night, Guho was chilling in the bathhouse, who submerges his head into the water giving him a chance to repent. This vigilante is wearing a mask, revealing that he is fake. Ji-John is in his neighborhood helping his old neighbor. Just then, he watches the TV and learns about now being shown as one of Vigilante's murders. Shaheen arrives at the scene but finds no clue about the vigilante. Another news channel broadcasts the news. Who has been planning to show the truck driver's case to draw vigilantes' attention. Not only this, the rival channel broadcasts another show telling people about the newly released individuals. The fake vigilante takes the bait and kills each one of them without giving them the time to repent. This man sends a video message to a broadcasting station addressing the people of Korea. In the video, he shares his empathy for the victims. Though he admits that vigilantism is a crime, he still declares that he won't stop his vigilante activities. Seeing the video, Shi-young is upset, as Vigilante's reputation is being destroyed because of the fake vigilante. On the other hand, Jo-hyun believes that if the police fail to catch the vigilante, and because of the praise of the people, he will cross the line even further. Soon the police find a vigilante, but Jo-hyun immediately recognizes that he is the fake one. When Officer Incheon asks how he knows Jo-hyun responds that the real vigilante won't make a coward face on getting caught later. Jeong's neighbor is picking cardboard when a man named Sundu yells at her for getting in his way. The old woman takes a moment to respond and a not pose. Sundu strikes her with his car, causing severe injuries. Witnessing this, the nearby store shopkeeper intervenes, questioning Sundu about his heartless actions. Instead of remorse, Sundu retaliates, assaulting the shopkeeper. A scuffle ensues, with the shopkeeper gaining the upper hand. Shortly after, the police arrive and apprehend Sundu for intentionally causing harm to the woman. The incident gains media attention, highlighting flaws in the legal system. The man who harmed the woman is now hospitalized, while the one who attempted to protect her is arrested for confronting the assailant. Watching the news, Ji-John becomes that someone tried to kill the woman he cares about deeply. As night falls and others retire to sleep, Ji-young dives into his research. Meanwhile, Sundu resorts to threatening the elderly woman, attempting to settle the case for money. He doesn't even care that the woman is bound to the bed. Under cover of night, Ji-young tails the brother to his turf, delivering a swift kick and then strangling track. Mirio briefs her team on a new strategy involving the monitoring of the hospital to catch the vigilante in action. Simultaneously, he and his team arrive at the hospital, where Sundu is receiving treatment. Mirio positions her cameras, keeping a keen eye on the hospital proceedings. Just then, the cop on duty receives a call that someone has hit his car in the parking lot. It was just a diversion, allowing Ji-John to make his way to Sandu's while room, suffocating the culprit. Ji-John threatens him, ordering him to tell the judge he regrets his action and wants a maximum sentence. But if he doesn't do that, Ji-John warns him that he will come again. Sure he will suffer much more pain than the old lady. Of a false call to the on-duty officer, they swiftly head to Sandu's room. En route, Jo-hyun crosses paths with Ji-young, disguised in a doctor's coat. Discovering Sundu restrained on the bed, Jo-hyun promptly instructs his team to search for a doctor's coat. suspecting him to be the elusive vigilante. Officer Incheon heads to the security room, only to find all CCTV cameras malfunctioning. So, he walks down the stairs and follows Ji-young. But our vigilante manages to get away before getting caught. Sun-do has decided to surrender himself to the cops. As he reaches for his phone to call his brother, the imposter vigilante suddenly appears, knocking him to the floor. While Ji-young is exiting the premises, the imposter hurls Sun-do out of the window, leading to his demise. Police officers gather around the lifeless body, and reporters prepare another tragic event. Still perplexed, Ji-young witnesses the fake vigilante fleeing the hospital. Observing the man escape in an ambulance, Ji-young catches up, entering the vehicle to unravel the mysteries surrounding this mysterious vigilante. Driving the ambulance to the rooftop parking, the killer praises Ji-young's actions, expressing admiration for his work. He discloses his role in erasing Jing's the police can't track him down. In fact, he is the one who tampered with the CCTV cameras. He proposes becoming Jing's to assist in catching bigger prey. However, Ji-young sees him as a ruthless murderer who is unwilling to give his victims a chance to repent. A clash erupts, and surprisingly, the imposter vigilante proves to be as tough as vigilantism philosophy with the imposter vigilante, admitting that he fills the gaps where the law falls short. However, he points out that the fake vigilante has damaged his reputation. Their struggle persists until the imposter is left suspended against the wall. He pleads for Ji-young's help, even offering to unveil his identity by removing his mask, defying the plea. Ji-young instructs the man to find his own path and then departs the scene. Meanwhile, Jo-hein diligently sifts through the information of the hospital staff. Mi-ryo has a video of Ji-young, but his face remains hidden. While Ji-young tends to his wounds, he receives a message from the fake vigilante offering to be his alibi. However, Ji-young's response remains unchanged. The next day unveils the identity of the imposter vigilante. Jo Gang-duk, the vice chairman of DK Group and the primary sponsor of the broadcasting station, works. Learning that Mi-ryo possesses a video, he proposes sponsor station to allow Mi-ryo to discuss vigilante in her articles freely, but she refuses to be under anyone's control. Getting straight to the point, Gang-duk expresses his admiration for the vigilante. In line with this, he seizes to eliminate any evidence of vigilante. Simultaneously, the police meticulously examine the evidence collected at the hospital, noticing signs of careful planning and a keen understanding of the police investigation. Jo-hein begins to suspect a potential connection between the vigilante and the police force. To share the investigation details with Yeon-yo, Jo-hein visits where he crosses paths with Ji-young. Briefly recalling his encounter with the vigilante, Jo-hein dismisses his suspicions in a meeting with Yeon-yo. Both share the belief that the vigilante might be a police officer. Discussing their theory post-meeting, Jo-hein departs from the police academy, with Ji-young observing him from a distance. Heads to a restaurant to review the CCTV footage, only to discover that someone has already checked the videos. Realizing it was Sandu's brother, Jo-hyun tracks him down to his location and confronts his gang, engaging in a brawl. The goons unite to defend their boss, but Jo-hyun effortlessly defeats them all. Soon locks the security gate, prompting another attack on Jo-hyun. However, with astonishing strength, Jo-hyun subdues the men, quickly sending them to the floor. Demonstrating his formidable power, he breaks the security gate and faces Sunil. He warns him against conducting his own investigation. Otherwise, he will have to face the consequences. In the midst of a class, professor inquires about the injuries on Ji-young's face. Attributes the wounds to a practice session with his gym teacher. Delves further into the story. A police officer arrives seeking Ji-young. Accompanying the officer is a girl who expresses gratitude to Ji-young for the previous night, when she faced harassment from some intoxicated man. At first, Ji-young is a bit confused, realizing that it might be help from Gang-duk, he decides to go along with the scenario. When questioned about his fabricated story regarding the injuries, Ji-young explains that he believed a scuffle between a university student on Ji-young and a civilian could pose problems that he might require Gang-duk's support in his journey Mirio pays a visit to her friend Sek in his office. When inquired about a company
Future
called
resources,
Sek discloses its involvement in various domains, running the largest illegal gambling site in Korea, and drug dealing. It comes to light that Do-Yin, the drug dealer J.R.M. eliminated, was associated with this company. Furthermore, Kim Sam-duk, the company's owner, is notorious for his criminal activities and recently escaped charges, despite compelling evidence. Isaac proposes that Mirio accompany him to meet named Yoon Jae-hyuk, who claims to have information about Sewol Company. Upon reaching the actor's residence, they are met with shock as they discover Yoon Jae-hyuk hanging from a rope. The duo attempts to convince the police that it was a murder, but with a suicide note found near the body, their claims are dismissed. They are instructed to leave the police station. Frustrated, Mirio questions DCQ about the possible location of the evidence. DCQ discloses that the actor changed the meeting location, hinting that the evidence might still be there. Meanwhile, Shi-young contacts Ganguk, arranging a meeting near the bus terminal. Upon arrival, the girl sent by Ganguk leads Ji-jong to a meeting spot. However, it becomes apparent that Jo Hyun is keeping an eye on Ji-jong. After the girl departs, Jo Hyun approaches Ji-jong, introducing himself as the head of the team investigating the vigilante. It becomes apparent that Jo Hyun harbors suspicions about Ji-young being the vigilante. He issues a warning, advising Ji-young to cease his vigilantism. Jo Hyun's strategy is not to arrest the vigilante, because arresting him might turn the vigilante into a sympathetic figure. He can gain public support, transforming him into a hero. Later, Jang contacts Ganguk and orders him to clone Jo Hyun's saying phone, that he will then think of working with Ganguk. Simultaneously, DC Can Mirio head to the location specified by the actor for their meeting. Surprisingly, it turns out to be a container housing Seawolves. Illegal servers gather evidence. Mirio records the computers, uncovering traces of QQ just coin then mining. An unknown person enters the container. Having spotted DC Can Mirio's car while outside, Mirio hides under the table. The man discovers her. DC intervenes, grabbing the intruder from behind. In a courageous effort to succumbs to multiple stab wounds, sacrificing himself to buy her time. Just as the assailant tries to catch her again, she successfully manages to escape from the area. Later that night, she returns with the police, but to her astonishment, the container is empty. There is not a single trace of the computers or DSEQ's body. Meanwhile, Jo Hyun receives a call from Chief Superintendent General Yoon Jae-hyuk, the individual who assigned him the task of catching the vigilante. Directs Jo Hyun to put an end to the vigilantism, emphasizing that realignment is approaching, and he doesn't want the ongoing situation to hinder his progress. Meanwhile, Mirio's news channel airs another episode exposing the Sewol Company's illicit activities. The report discloses that Sewol's chairman, Sam-duk, orchestrated a staggering illegal cryptocurrency exchange using QQ coin, as evidenced by traces found in the container. Mirio visited the broadcast. Includes screenshots of chats with the actor, who unveiled Chief Superintendent General Yoon Jae-hyuk's involvement in supporting Jae-hyuk's involvement when he is seen conversing with Sam-duk, strategizing their next moves. The perpetrator behind DCX revealed to be Mr. Bang, frequently employed by Sam-duk for unlawful activities, and struck to abduct Mirio. Mr. Bang sends a man to her office building to carry out the task. The assailant tosses Mirio into his vehicle. However, before he can drive away, Jo Hyun arrives and delivers a powerful slap, rendering him unconscious. Jo Hyun then advises Mirio against providing vigilante like with in the Sewol case. Mirio, however, rejects his advice, prompting Jo Hyun to warn her of the man who assaulted me. Mirio regains consciousness in Jo Hyun's car, but a swift punch from Jo Hyun forces him to his only viable option. Questioned by Jo Hyun, the man divulges how Sam-duk utilizes Mr. Bang's services for various tasks, including the abduction of Mirio. which he was assigned to carry out by Mr. Now Jo Hyun is en route to the location the man recently visited, discovering it to be a farm owned by where he carries out his heinous acts. Jo Hyun retrieves his shield from the car and engages in a fierce utilizing his remarkable strength. He systematically takes down each opponent. Trophy. He delivers powerful blows while shielding himself. Before long, he successfully incapacitates after all the police arrive at the scene, and covering dozens of bodies, some being consumed by pigs. Instead of exposing Samdu's activities, Jo Hyun decides to manipulate the situation, framing the men at the farm as the vigilantes, Samdu's farm as the vigilante murder factory even, falsely claiming to have discovered the DNA of vigilantes' victims. To debunk the police's fabricated shadows his next target, one of Samdu's associates named Junsuk. He is a drug offender with 3 prior sexual assault charges. As Junsuk is on the verge of assaulting another woman, attacking him from behind and knocking him to the ground after subduing Yunsuk, Ji-jong steals a diary containing crucial information about Samdu. Later news channels broadcast the recent portraying Junsuk's demise as the work of vigilante. Reveal message left at the crime scene, exposing the false narrative crafted by Jo Hyun. This incident threw a wrench into Jo Hyun's plans. Leaving him enraged on the flip side, Mirio finds herself in a good mood. After getting fired by her boss, he accused her of painting a criminal organization heroes by calling them vigilante. However, with Vigilante's recent appearance, Mirio felt vindicated, proving she was right. Upon returning home, Ji follows him until they reach a bridge. Although Ji-jong manages to slip away temporarily, Jo Hyun eventually catches up. He urges Ji-jong to abandon vigilantism, offering to guide him out of the mess. And willing to comply, Ji-jong asserts that Jo Hyun follows someone else's orders and handles his cases unofficially. Ji-young questions why he should follow a man like that. A scuffle ensues with Jo Hyun and effortlessly overpowering considering him no real threat. Urging Ji-young to cease his vigilantism, Jo Hyun insists that the police will handle the aftermath of the mess he's created. He emphasizes that Ji-jong has crossed the line by taking the law into his own hands. Despite the severe beating, Ji-young remains resolute. He refuses to abandon his duty. Vulnerable in their struggle against the intimidating and oppressive legal system. Growing frustrated with Ji-young's persistence, Jo Hyun reaches a breaking point. He decides to put an end to Ji-young's life to stop what he perceives as insanity. Ji-young breaks free and proposes a deal to Jo Hyun can demonstrate that the law is still bringing justice to Samdu. In General Jaeib, he will join forces with him. However, if Jo Hyun fails to punish the duo for their crimes, Ji-young will take matters into his own hands to stop their illegal activity. The next day, General Jaeib calls Jo Hyun the head of the investigation. When Jo Hyun questions whether it's related to the Sewell General case, Jaeib advises him to disregard media speculation and resign from his position immediately. This raises suspicions for Jo Hyun, sensing something fishy. Meanwhile, Ji-jong assigns Gang-duk the task of setting up a studio to provide her with a platform to openly discuss and expose Samdu. In General Jaehoib, when Mirio questions explains that his aim is to find the vigilante. When asked about her next move, Mirio discloses her plan to expose government agencies to launch an investigation. Gang-ik supports Mirio, emphasizing that they are on the same side. Mirio kicks off her show, rallying the public to stand by her in the battle against Samdu. In General Jaehoib, she emphatically states that she won't take her own life, and if she meets an untimely end, it's a result of a murder. Using her platform, she reveals that the true vigilante combating these criminals. General Jia becomes enraged as the tide appears to be turning against him. Nam Yonggul takes over as the new team apprehending the vigilante. Upon his arrival, he swiftly delves into the diary he acquired while eliminating Junsuk. Shockingly, it reveals that Pastor Shin of My Team Church is involved in money laundering and managing funds for Samdu. In Jahyab, Ji-young catches one of Samdu's associates currency between foreign accounts and launches a surprise attack, rendering him unconscious. He seizes a USB drive containing evidence of Pastor Shin's involvement in money laundering for Samdu. In Jahyab, in the midst of this, Sha-young notices Gang-ik outside the window. Upon investigation, Gangak starts sprinting away from him, prompting Ji-young to give chase. Sha-young catches up with Gang-duk, and when questioned about his impromptu Gang-duk confesses that he finds it thrilling. Sha-young is now willing to collaborate. He instructs Gang-duk to reveal his face. Following the orders, Gang-duk unveils himself to Ji-young, who then entrusts him with to deliver to USB. The strategy is to eliminate Pastor Shin, creating a public USB's content, leveraging their financial and political connections. The culprits will likely be acquitted. This sets the stage for Ji-young to target Samdu and expose the evidence expressing concern. Gang-duk warns that going after Samdu might demise nevertheless. Ji-young maintains that it wouldn't be a regrettable conclusion to his journey. Ji-young storms into Pastor Shin's office, swiftly disabling his guards. Despite Pastor Shin's attempt to flee, Ji-young catches up and in a grim strangles him to death, attributing Pastor Shin's demise to the vigilante. The religious community was left foreseeing this development. Now they move to the second phase of the evidence against Pastor Shin to be aware that he could be the next target. General Jahip urgently contacts Samdu. Samdu, remaining composed, unveils his countermove, a strategy involving the elimination of and the vigilante to sweep away the entire mess. Gang Yi hands over claiming the USB, has his own investigation team dedicated to collecting evidence. Goes online to expose the truth about Pastor Shin. We catch a glimpse of Mr. Bang in his right hand, man en route ready to take action. Meanwhile, Jo-hyun rushes to Mirai's office. He cautions her against glorifying the vigilante solely for ratings, warning that she's inviting trouble and potential danger. Despite Jo-hyun's stern advice, appears undeterred, irresolute in pursuing her objectives. As Jo-hyun exits, he is ambushed by Mr. Bang, who attempts to stab him with a knife. After deflecting the initial attack, Jo-hyun retaliates by tossing Mr. Bang into a barrage of punches. In the midst of their confrontation, Mr. Bang manages to escape just as Jo-hyun is about to apprehend him. He's blindsided by Mr. Bang's formidable right hand, to be as thrown against the car's door himself. Jo-hyun engages in a fierce struggle, temporarily gaining the upper hand. However, Mr. Bang intervenes at a crucial moment, enabling the big guy to rise and launch another assault on Jo-hyun. While being restrained by Mr. Bang's right hand, Jo-hyun endures a stabbing from Mr. Bang in the abdomen, sending waves of intense pain through him. Despite the agony, Jo-hyun summons enough strength to bring down both assailants. However, the extensive bleeding takes its toll, leaving him unable to continue the fight. Suddenly, out of nowhere, Ji-young appears and engages Mr. Bang in combat, forcing the assailant to escape. Jo-hyun's life is saved thanks to the vigilante. Even though Ji-young slipped away and noticed, security cameras captured him in action, taking on the goons and aiding Jo-hyun. News of the incident reaches Gang-guk, prompting him to question Ji-young's motives for saving Jo-hyun. Ji-young, however, discloses his true agenda. He intends to turn Jo-hyun into a vigilante. Meanwhile, Samdu directs his frustration at Mr. Bang for the failed murder attempt on Jo-hyun. Mr. Bang firmly tells him to back off, saying he will handle things his way. Simultaneously, Samdu's henchmen work on extracting the private keys of the from the server. Their focus is disrupted. Small envelopes the building. Amid the chaos, Ji-young emerges from the fire, launching an attack on the two men. Seizing the opportunity, he grabs the private keys and exits the building. Just as the flames consume the office, he then proceeds to leave a bag with money outside an orphanage. It turns out that he has written a message in Samdu's office stating, "I've got the private keys. I plan to sell the QQ coin and donate the money. Before I make the donations, Samdu Jahayab and the hitman should surrender." Mirai broadcasts this revelation, presenting on compelling her channel, evidence of entanglement in money laundering. Previously lacking evidence, government agencies now have grounds to arrest and probe Samdu, leveraging knowledge of his residence. Q-coin's intended use for political feeling funds. The pressure, Jahib offers a deal to ease Samdu's situation. A 6-month jail term. He believes this is the only way he can distance himself from the public eye. Frustrated and angered, Sandu vents his displeasure at his right-hand man for failing to apprehend the vigilante and prevent Mirio from exposing their activities. Meanwhile, Mr. Bang takes matters into his own hands, orchestrating the murder of the orphanage owner. He cleverly stages it to appear as the vigilante's handiwork. The media and the police, however, perceive it as the deed of a vengeful criminal organization targeting recognizing the urgency to prevent more innocent casualties. Ji-young reaches out to Gang Duke during the night. Despite being aware of Samdu's ploy to draw out the vigilante, Ji-young feels compelled to act before more lives are at risk. He specifically directs Gang-duke to keep a vigilant eye on Mirio, understanding that her life is now in jeopardy. As anticipated, Samdu's right-hand man and gather outside Mirio's building with sinister intentions. Sensing the imminent threat through the CCTV camera, Mirio swiftly installs smaller cameras in her studio, capturing the unfolding attack. Going live online, she updates the public on the dire situation, spawning the surveillance devices. The assailants systematically initiating a destructive rampage. Despite their efforts to locate Mirio, she manages to keep the public informed. And fortunately, they eventually find her and destroy her phone, stopping the live stream. However, before they can abduct her, Gang-duke intervenes just in the nick of time. Armed with a baseball bat, he takes on the assailants, successfully failing their attempt to harm Mirio. Upon witnessing the live stream,